Hey guys, welcome back to Untold, where we are being unfiltered, unapologetic, and unedited. Please make sure before we jump into the next episode that you subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Okay, so in this episode, we're going to talk about feminism, which I'm really excited about because I feel like I'm always seeing controversial topics and conversations about feminism. So I just want to ask you guys, what does feminism mean to you? And then, are you a feminist?
Do you want to go first?
No, you start.
The thing is, when I read the Oxford Dictionary, it's like feminism is when you believe men are equal to women, deserve, and I think with that definition, I wouldn't say I'm a feminist. Ooh. I will say we shouldn't strive for equality to men, because at this stage in our lives, when we're so far behind, we need people to put us up. Equity, so we need equity. We don't want to come in to a job interview and do it on equal playing field. We want to be hired because we are women, because currently there are all men in the boardroom. That's what we want. So we don't want to be equal at this moment. I hope in the future we'll reach feminism where we can come into a boardroom and be treated equally, but not here, not right now. We need more.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interested.
So feminism, the way it defines it, is less so about them being equal. It's men and women having equal political, social, economic and sexual rights, which with that definition would mean equity anyway, because it would mean that a man sleeping with 100 women would be treated the same as a woman sleeping with 100 men. Or a woman running for president. Hillary and Donald Trump would have been treated the same. Yeah. Because they would have had the same social standing and equal rights in that space. So yes, because that's the definition. So yes, I'm a feminist. And I agree with what you're saying. I think that's the whole point. I think that's why it's called feminism, because a lot of people, often men, not always, want to attack that and say, why just not call it equality then? The reason is because right now, patriarchy, hence men, so not always men, but like the patriarchy was created by men for men, right? They have the power, and for there to be a power, there's currently a power imbalance right now, right? And for that to shift, the power, you need to lose power for women to gain power. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. That is what Samia's talking about. That's equity, right? You're doing, like, for example, like equity is different. If two people have different heights and the fence is the same, you don't give them both the same length of ladder. Yeah. One ladder needs to be higher than the other for them both to be able to see the game or whatever,
that's
right?
What I feel
that's equity. Yeah, that is what it should be. And I think that's what a lot of issues come with that, because people think, yeah, but you know, you guys have the right to vote and own land. What more do you want?
I'm saying, if it's so great to be a woman, why don't we swap places?
Yeah. Why do you not want to have daughters?
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say when someone used to ask, like, are you a feminist? Because I thought, like, feminism was, like, you have to be an activist. Like, you have to be going hard, talking about it, And I didn't feel like I was that person. And I guess I was more like active or vocal about like racial issues and stuff like that. But when I realised the definition is just like literally believing in the equality, like we should be equal, then I was like, yeah, like
obviously.
Everyone should be a feminist.
How can I as a woman say I don't want to be deemed equal?
Yeah.
Why would I choose to be less than? So by that definition, I had to be like, yeah, okay, I am a feminist. I'm just not maybe active or like typically active about it, or
there's levels to it,
there's levels, because some people do more for that fight. I didn't feel like I was doing anything for that fight at that point, so I don't know, but I think this whole when you hear stuff like that, for me anyway, I used to think like like I said, you have to be an activist and like proper going hard for it. But I think just at the basic level, do you believe in feminism? I think it makes no sense to not. Because otherwise, what are you saying?
I 100% agree with you. Like, what actually inspired me to ask you guys this question and like why I want to talk about this today. I saw a man wearing a t-shirt the other day and it said husband, father, feminist. And I was like, yes, because I just thought everyone should be like, I feel like for the longest time, being a feminist has been associated with being a woman and being a woman alone. And when you, like you guys have said, when you actually look at the definition, why would you not want to be a feminist?
Yes, because it runs for men's issues as much as women's issues. Because do you know what? The feminism actually encompasses every single issue that kind of differentiates the different sexes. So like men should be able to express themselves, take paternity leave, spend time with their child, be able to be the primary caregiver, things like that. That is a feminist issue. Men being raped, feminist issue. Women being raped, feminist issue. Women not being paid the same as men, feminist issue. Men feeling they have to be the only provider, feminist issue. We're riding for everybody, and often it tends to happen that men seem to think it's actually anti-men, and that's why you have to ask yourself, why is pro-women in your books anti-men?
Because they have to get power. That's it. It has to be a power shift, and this is why I'm definitely all for equity over equality. Is because for this time being, we have to shift the power a little bit. We have to be like, we as women have to step back and be like, it's okay for men to take care of the children. It's okay for men to do this and that. So that's our responsibility. Men, you're going to have to get used to the fact that you're going to have to step down for some things and be like, actually, there's all men in this room. Although he might be more qualified, I'm going to pick the woman candidate because given that she was a man, she would have had those same qualifications. She would have gone to those schools. She would have got those educations and she would have been in that position. And that's the sort of things we have to do to get to the position where we can be truly feminist, where we can treat women and men equally.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Goldman Sachs actually surprised me. So what they've done is anybody above a grade D, so like head off or above level, right now they can only hire women. They've said we're only interviewing women candidates and we're only hiring women candidates.
How do you know?
That is crazy.
Because in an investment bank, you walk into a room, like till today, I walk into a room and I count how many women there are. 1 or 2. Women of colour, 1. And it's almost always me.
That was me walking into the lab.
In the room.
Yeah, it's me. I always count and I make a note and I say this to everybody. I say that's what I always do, guys, and it's always only me. Right. And I think somebody said this to me when I was doing my internship. Somebody said to me, I didn't even look at your CV or this male intern CV, and somebody just said, pick the better intern without knowing anything, she would have said me automatically, because for me to even be in that room, I had to be better than all the other men to even get to that point.
Yeah.
So automatically, overcoming those hurdles for women, because it's a patriarchy system. I'm not saying men don't struggle, though. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the struggles are different. You don't have to struggle because of your gender on things like job applications or like getting into STEM, because it was created by men.
Yeah.
So I have a bit of a controversial question.
Yeah.
Just thinking about this and talking about obviously how we're saying feminism is for both genders. I was watching another discussion about this, and there were, what do they call themselves? Meninists?
Yeah, meninists.
Something like that. And a lot of what they were saying was waffle, but one thing that I was like, this is a good point actually. They were saying how, because this was in America, and they were saying how when it comes to prison sentences, I'm pretty sure it's the same here in the UK, men get harsher sentences for the same crimes as women, and obviously more men get put on the death penalty out in America as well. So obviously there'll be a lot of people who will say, see, this is, take it away.
Can I explain the reason behind it? Because the reason behind it is actually patriarchy. Whether you see it or not, it's because you see women as feeble, weak, and needing male protection. So what we're actually arguing for is that don't see us like that. Give us enough that you don't feel the need to protect us. And the reason why you think like women get away with like parking tickets, women get into clubs for free, is because of your male objectification, if anything. So it's still the patriarchy. That's the only part of patriarchy that actually maybe favours women. And family court. Again, you tend to see of men, it's okay for men to be deadbeat fathers, so you expect men to be deadbeat fathers. And that again is a feminist issue, because we're saying that's not the case. So your issue isn't with feminism, it's with patriarchy. Look at that.
Yeah. They're literally, they just wanted to put a label on it, but it's still feminism, if that's calling it meninism or whatever.
whatever label.
Like,
I remember growing up hearing things like feminazi.
Are they just scared of the word feminine then?
Excuse me.
Is
I've
that
been
what
called
it is?
a feminazi before, and I absolutely am not. And also, I just want to say as well, with this whole feminazi argument, I feel like whenever any community or any group of people are trying to strive for change, there's always going to be a small tiny percentage, almost not even acknowledgeable, that will be a bit more extreme.
100%.
And people always shine the spotlight on
that
the extreme,
0.01% of people,
and try to undermine the message. And it's like, and I think this is why there's so much discourse when it comes to this conversation about feminism. People are like, oh, it's about hating men and not wanting men. Excuse me, just for pure reproduction purposes, we need men. So, like, for that alone, like, no one's saying get rid of men from the face of the earth. Like, it's just not even feasible. But beyond that, like, it's just not the truth. Like, that's just not what feminism is about. We just want to see at the table.
Do you think some people have made it that, though? Like, you know how you said there are obviously
100%.
always a few? What do you think those people, like, where do you think they're coming from?
I think trauma.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Trauma.
I was going to say, I don't know whether I'm, just
generalised.
What
what
would you say feminazi is? Because I think they do radical stuff to get radical change. And if you look at the suffragette movement, the people that chucked themselves in front of horses, they would have been called absolute radicals, and they would have been, in this day and age, feminazis. But these are the people that actually got women to vote. And everyone here sits comfortably. But we followed. I do have an issue with this, because I don't think if white women didn't get the vote, black women would have never got the vote. And I think we can go into this whole debate about that. But I think I'm not going to criticise for people keep on moving forwards. I think always, no matter what, you should always fight for more of your rights. So I'm not going to, criticise that. But I think if they're in this day and age, they would have been called feminazis. But now we all sit around this table and we're all grateful for the vote. All the men that will never go and say we don't want women to not have a vote, but their grandparents, their great grandparents were the ones cussing the women for jumping in front of the horses and calling them extremists. I think they're only extreme for the time, but they're the people that push forward the progress.
I think currently what feminazi term is, often it ends up being counterproductive. So it's things like we hate men. That's misandry. There's actually a term for it. Nobody here hates men. You can't. There's misogyny, there's misandry. No, none of us are that, right? So often it ends up being things like, don't wear a bra, fuck the patriarchy, do this, that, and the other, without actually talking about actual tangible changes we can make. You can scream all you want, but if at the end of the day you're out there not standing up for women, say somebody gets interrupted in the boardroom and you're carrying on and kicking with the boys, you are part of the problem. You are not a feminist if you don't act it. Saying it is not enough.
No.
If every day you're out here thinking about the people, like rape apologists, you are not a feminist. You cannot be one or the other. You have to, you are literally one or the other. Sorry, you can't pick.
Yeah.
There's no overlap there, right? So I agree with what you're saying. My only issue is white feminism, because I think there is a brand of that. So white feminism is like,
No, but
I think they do leave, I've definitely seen this where white feminism has become an issue.
Yeah.
Just for example, actually, I saw a video of a fairly young woman, she was in her 30s, saying that the word Karen was sexist. And I thought that is white feminism at play, because the word Karen in this colloquial term in our young generation has been preserved for white middle-aged women who call the manager.
I think she was an undercover racist, not an
but that's what I'm saying. That's white feminism, because she's telling me I need to be offended. All women should be offended, and Karen is a sexist word. Excuse me, as a black woman, I'm not offended by people being called Karen. I don't think it's a sexist term. And so the reason why she felt so confident in her position to say that it was sexist and not something else was because of white feminism. And a lot of the time, their feminism, they can only see themselves.
100%.
I definitely agree with that, but the confidence to call out things as being sexist is a dream for some. And so although what they're doing, although sometimes I don't agree with what they're trying to say, is they're normalising calling out sexism. I think every person has a different battle, and this is why I can't criticize. I used to be anti, like, you know, white feminists, because I'd be like, they're not seeing the problem. There's people getting mutilated over here for being females. Like, I was like, this is not, you know, I think they're missing it. But what I've realized is that everyone's on their own journey fighting for their own rights, and people need to be pushing things forward. And even in my thing, I can't fight every feminist fight. I definitely fight all the ones that I'm facing, and I'm trying to fight all the ones that do not face me, but you can't fight everything. As a black female in the UK, born in the UK, I have so many more rights than, say, my cousins in the Caribbean. And I'm here fighting for wanting to be, you know, big in STEM. I want to be like a senior manager in STEM. They're fighting to make sure they get into university education. We're on different planes, and they shouldn't make me feel guilty for fighting for more of my rights, the same way I shouldn't make anyone feel guilty for fighting for more of their rights.
No, I understand. I think it's not about making people feel guilty, but you understand that. You understand your privilege in that. And I think that's the difference. Sometimes people are so caught up in their own that they can't understand that they're fighting, but they're also fighting from a position of privilege. Yeah. Even me, when it comes to like all the things that we're fighting, all the things that we discuss, I'm also very aware that we all have first world privilege.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel so, like, do you know, there's so much that I can say needs to improve, but I'm still very aware that I need to be grateful. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it comes from a place of just understanding that. So I don't think it's about making other people feel guilty. I just think you need to have that awareness of where you are in a position of privilege, even though you've still got things that you need to fight for in terms of justice. Yeah. You're still aware of that privilege.
I think a lot of people are not aware of.
And that's the difference. That's the difference.
Yeah, because I think what you've talked about, like in terms of being aware of your privilege and stuff, I think with feminism, right, like maybe more so, I don't know if it's women's issues or whatever, because I feel like most of the things where we feel not good enough, or like you're having to fight every day just to even get to the same playing field. And there was a really nice analogy that I keep using with everybody, and it's things like, we're right here, like what Samir just said. She's saying she has so many rights. She's trying to just get into STEM, like be a leader there, right? And then, like often what ends up happening is people around you will be like, yeah, but look at your cousin back home, and there they'll be saying, yeah, but at least you got to go to school. You're thinking about university, but back in my day, or like, look at that person over there, and it keeps instead of thinking, look at where we have to go to. We keep telling each other we should feel grateful for what we have right now. And I think that stands true for a lot of things, not just feminism, a lot of other like racism and things like that. Because every time like somebody back in Nepal, so like this girl I grew up with, she got married when she was 16. She has 2 kids when I went to visit her. Just because we were born into different circumstances. Just different, that's all it was. It was just different circumstances and different sets of parents, nothing else, right? Her mum obviously thought, okay, like she's a girl, she doesn't need to be educated. Whereas my parents didn't think that, and not because of anybody's fault, right? But she's then telling her daughter, well, when it was, at least you got to go to, you know, school up to year 6. Yeah. Right, and her mum would be saying, at least you got to see the husband before you got married. I didn't even get to do that. And it's always backwards. Yeah. And I think that's who we're fighting for, because really and truly, yes, we've got our privilege, and yes, like some people might be offended by saying that Karen is, you know, sex and XYZ. But white feminism comes into play where people are saying, like, people in Islam who are wearing hijab or niqab are oppressed. They're not.
Absurd. Yeah.
Then that's white feminism, because being naked empowers some, being clothed empowers others. And choice is what feminism is.
I think they're missing the point. That's what it is. I think when we talk about white feminism, the things I hate are undercurrents of other things. Yeah. So the undercurrent was Islamophobia. I think these are the things.
It's not sexism. And when you come and say, like this religion oppresses XYZ, all of this. But really, if you really think about it, the only thing that differentiates you not wearing a hijab and so-and-so wearing a hijab is just the choice. Just like, because I remember like one of our friends, she was saying that I thought feminism meant that I just had to sleep with everybody. No, again, a choice.
It's not all I'm so curious.
Again, a choice, because
I have a guess.
You're right. You're right. That's not what it is, because feminism is saying whether you sleep with 3,000 men or you sleep with nobody, as long as it's your choice and it's consensual, your respect and the way people should respect you does not depend on how many people you've slept with. That's feminism, Not that you should sleep with people or you should not sleep with people. That's not feminism. That's controlling.
Yeah.
That's how people end up more divided as well. Because
Yes.
if now we've got this whole blanket of feminism, and then within
We're
that,
not
there's
arguing.
the feminists who like to sleep around and the feminists who don't,
don't like to
you
sleep
know what I mean?
around.
Like, it just kind of, if we're all fighting the same fight,
It's the
then it
same
shouldn't
fight.
really, it shouldn't
Yeah.
really matter.
And the same fight should just be choice.
So guys, I have a hypothetical question. Could you be with somebody who's not a feminist?
No.
I don't think so. Like, I couldn't be with someone who doesn't believe
Inequality.
in equality. Like, why, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be an issue if they didn't think I was equal to them.
Yeah.
Do you
If
know-
they see me as less than, then that's a problem automatically. So.
And I think this is why it's so important, though, to educate people on what feminism means. Because I've had some discussions with men who were like, no, because they think feminism is this
Dirty
crazy... Yeah, they think feminism...
Men
literally, they think feminism is a dirty word.
Yeah.
And it's not. So I think part of the issue, first of all, is you're going to have to fight battles and just educating people on what feminism actually is. And then they should be feminists. And if after that they're not, absolutely not.
Yeah, I would have to ask why.
Yeah, literally.
What do you understand by it?
Yeah.
What do you believe? What don't you believe? And then
I think that would be the plan I go for.
Yeah, because with all my conversation, right, it's often men saying, yeah, I believe in equality, but I'm not a feminist. Like, that's like saying, I don't eat meat, but I'm not a vegetarian. It's the same thing, and I think that's what people just don't understand. And that's what really worries me, guys, because I think it's become a thing of like feminism is, like you said, it's mostly women because the decision makers are still men.
Yeah.
So unless they're on board,
nothing's
going to happen. And I think a lot of people have an issue with the quota system. Like, for example, do you remember when I did my first like assessment centre and then I was the only girl, then there was 7 boys and I came home and somebody was like, you've definitely got the job.
Yeah.
But I thought, I don't want to get the job because I'm a girl, but at times that will be it and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think we need to be okay with that.
I felt the same way. I definitely got my job at a certain company because I was black, for sure, because I was the only black person in the whole lab, so they definitely had to fill some quotas.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't, it wasn't merit-based.
Yeah.
And then I think at the end of the day, I would have been merit-based given that I didn't have all these hurdles in my life.
Yeah.
Then I could have been judged on the same merit. But because I had so many hurdles in my life in terms of just being a black woman, someone has to give me the opportunity.
I think it's a red flag when somebody says like company leaders will be like, it's a meritocracy here because you just know that slang word for it's an old boys club and they're all white.
Yeah,
that is what it is, because that's what normally people say. It's a meritocracy. We reward those that perform well. But if the system's messed up, and often it's men, and then like if you look at the gender pay gap after childbirth, it increases by almost 50%.
Yeah.
Because men aren't going to stay back and stay home, right?
Yeah.
Which means that their career is going to keep progressing. A year career break actually makes a lot of difference, especially in an industry that's like well-paid, like highly paid, like finance or wherever STEM. A year is a lot of research that you've missed out on. And if you're a leader, a CEO, you can't come back into a CEO, right? And then, so things like that. And also, like, I feel, it's just really, I'm really worried, like, giving birth in this world. I imagine that you know that your daughter is going to be, and your son, they're both going to be judged for their gender in different ways. They're both going to struggle in different ways. And your husband's saying, I believe in equality, but I'm not a feminist.
Yeah.
Do they
also
think it's not theirs to claim or what?
Yeah, they think
I feel like they, like you said earlier, someone said earlier, like they think
emasculation.
it's a women's thing.
Yeah.
And like they feel like they shouldn't claim it. Because if you're saying I believe in equality, but I'm not a feminist, then like you're just refusing to put a label on it, but you've already described feminism. So.
I genuinely think it is just like this misrepresentation of what feminism is, and unfortunately it's because even me, obviously I'm now 23, but when I was a teenager, so maybe like 13, 14, I was like, no, I'm not a feminist. And obviously I was quite young, so I had a lot to learn. But men are still at that stage as grown adults. But I can understand, thinking back then, why I said it is because I had no understanding. My understanding of feminism was actually that it was negative.
Yeah, but also I think what we need to change is like how the word feminism is viewed. And once we tackle that, then you will say, yeah, of course I'm a feminist. It will be odd.
To
To say I'm not like in that way.
Yeah, definitely. But this is why, like, I remember I saw like this woman.
Unless they're saying we should be, have more. That would be the only time I'd be like, okay, yeah, when you're not a feminist, that's cool. We can still do it.
They have more.
Unless they're saying women should have more.
Oh, yeah, true.
But yeah, I do think there is just so much, like I said earlier, just discourse when it comes to this conversation, and we do need to try and find like the same mission, the same thing that we were talking about within like the black community. We all need to find like the same sort of playing field. I think the same thing with women, because I do feel like a lot of the time, unfortunately, women undercut other women.
Pick-me's.
Yeah, there's various things. There are pick-me's, and then there's also the women, like you said earlier, that feel like they're the biggest justice warriors and trying to fight other women's battles that don't want to be fought. So for example, like the Islamophobia situation, and women covering themselves up, but also like I saw this debate going on with this woman who wanted to be a stay-at-home mum, and she liked the fact that her husband was the one earning and all of that. And for me, that's actually my worst nightmare. But that's me. Yeah. And I'm like, good on you, girl. Like, if that's your thing, that's your relationship, you're both happy, you're respected, and everything's good there. Who am I to now be like, no, you need to be going to work? Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. So I feel like as women as well, we also need to understand that.
It looks different.
Yeah, it looks different for everyone. Feminism actually does look different for everyone. It is about choice. Like, some people love being old school and want to be like stay-at-home mums and stay-at-home wives and cook and clean and stuff. That personally, I want a chef because I don't want to cook.
Yeah. So it's things like that.
You know
I feel and that's why it's so important to raise the next generation better. Like, my mum made an active effort. My brother does all the chores around the house. He cooks, he cleans, he does the dishes. Yeah. So she was like, you are not going to come and now expect all of this from somebody else's daughter because I didn't teach you this.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because often what ends up happening, so one of my friends, so her mum doesn't want her to study medicine because she's a girl and, when she grows older, like, she wants to be a surgeon, so for her to do all of that, that's going to take like 10 years of specialising. So even when she got into medicine, her mum was like, no, don't do it, do something else.
That is madness.
I've never heard of an Asian parent.
Even get into
I've
medicine.
never heard an Asian parent saying that, but she was like, think about it, when you have a husband, like, you're gonna come home late, who's gonna make the food, blah, blah, blah.
But men are never told this.
That's what I'm saying. That's what was the point. She was like, would you say this to my brother? Yeah. You wouldn't. You wouldn't say it. You'd be happy.
But you know why this is so problematic? It's because the way the world is evolving anyway, it's not practical for a lot of people to live on one wage.
No.
Anyway, so why are we now schooling girls to only be able to have to cook and do? Let me start. No, but wait.
It puts them in the predicament of not being self-sufficient and self-sufficient, so they always are dependent on the man. So
but that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying it's not practical. So now women are not only earning. So the man and the woman now earning, but now also the woman's expected to cook, to clean, to look after the kids. When men look after kids, often I see the language like babysitting and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's your child.
I'm just like so baffled by it, and it's just there's all this. And I understand, like, previously, like, traditionally, the woman stayed home and she did all of that, and it is actually like a full-time job. So it makes sense why they would do all of that, raise the kids, stuff like that, and that was the balance that we had. Now, in the world that we've evolved into, both men and women are now earners. The man has to pick up that slack because we're not super women. How can the woman drop their kids off to school, do a full thing of work, come home, cook, clean for everyone, and all the man has had to do is go to work and come home?
That's not fair. Some don't even do that. They don't even go to work.
It just doesn't make sense. So I feel like as well, what's happened is some people are stuck in this traditional expectation of what women should want, not realising that we're in a modern world. And in this modern world, you're not the breadwinner.
I think that's why men get upset about feminism, because at this point, like you said, if we're doing the childcare, the cooking, the cleaning and the working, and they're just working, they feel a bit demasculated, and that's not a point. They shouldn't feel demasculated.
Don't even want to provide anymore.
No, but they're feeling a bit attacked, and actually they shouldn't feel a bit attacked. They should actually raise their game.
They should also cook and clean and work. Yeah, and child.
And then they wouldn't feel attacked.
So if you've been raised to be the breadwinner, you've been brought up to think, okay, I'm a man, I need to provide, and then you're being told, oh, that's not your job anymore. Yeah. So I hear what Samia's saying. Maybe it's like, oh, so what
I
am
understand
I like? What's my value?
The cost of living is so expensive, so for a lot of people, it's just not practical.
No, of course not.
It's not practical to only have one
understand
income.
What Samia's trying to say in terms of feelings-wise, not in terms of practicality.
What about our feelings?
And that emasculation is actually also part of the feminist issue. Actually, the fact that you feel emasculated. Ask yourself, why do you think domestication is emasculating? we're seen as weaker. It's because
No,
women
it's
do
just
it.
life skills.
Yeah.
It's actually just life skills.
No, I don't think it's a domestication. It's like, oh, sugar, the woman's doing it all. They
don't
need
replace
me.
me.
Yeah,
They're
don't
too
need-
independent.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't need me, and that's a shock to someone. If you feel valued in what you can provide, and then what she's providing is what you're doing anyhow. Plus more. You're like, oh. But they shouldn't feel that way. They should say, okay, I can up my game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Okay, so obviously we've spoken a lot about feminism, and I feel like we'll definitely be revisiting this topic because there's just so much to discuss when it comes to feminism. But what would your lasting point be? What would you leave this episode on?
Google intersectional feminism. That's a really good point to start and read. Don't take what we're saying as Bible or the Quran or anything like that. Literally read. That's the only way you'll find out what you like and what you don't like, because maybe something's wrong with feminism as it is. Maybe it needs to be changed. Be the person who wants to change it as opposed to just criticising it. So Google it, start there. That's the advice that I give.
Because if you see a problem with something, but you're not suggesting a solution, like what's wrong with it and what do you think could be better about it? But you'll just say, nah, like, especially like on Twitter, you see a lot of that. So I think I agree, like just before you speak on something, like realise what it actually means and then make up your mind. Have more conversations, talk to women and men, don't just keep within your circle and get your views from there. Like actually actively branch out to try and find out more, and then I guess educate yourself is the most important thing, and I think continue to educate yourself. It's a dynamic situation, and loads of progress is being made, so just keep up to date, and hopefully we can get to a stage where we're not, men and women is not our main defining characteristics. It's just us as an individual, all my individual characteristics are seen, not as a woman or not as a man. And I think that would be a nice place to live in.
And I think for me, my lasting point would be when you're hearing someone talk about their experiences and why they fight for feminism and maybe why they're so passionate, because obviously there are some women who are more passionate about it than others, and that's probably due to personal experience. I think it's really important to, one, from a male perspective, is not be defensive and feel attacked, and not then try and speak over other women who are speaking from personal experience, be like, not all men, because it completely undermines what they're going through and what they're talking about, and it's just really annoying.
Yeah, I think there's just so much more to it, because I feel like it's both parts of it, right? Where men and women are two parts of the same coin. And I think often what we forget is that whatever men are expected to do, women are expected to do the same, but look good whilst doing it. So just in that, I think just have those conversations, speak to people. If you know, and if you hear one of your boys or your girlfriend saying anything questionable, ask them, question them, talk, have a conversation. That's how real change starts.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you obviously enjoyed this discussion, talking about feminism, and obviously we believe feminism is not a dirty word, but please share your comments, your views in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you.